Sabbath, the Confrontation. Walter Veith. Dr. Veith, at the recent camp meeting in Maine, August 2024, emphasized the Sabbath confrontation as the end-all of end-alls. He hosts the regular iterations from the era of the 1890s. Veith is bullish with Sabbath logic, but missing is a lot of Bible for the end times we live. Does Sabbath agitation exist nationally or internationally today? No. Nothing making the news. That being the case, the Bible presents serious scenarios that are being fully neglected. Is this the case with Walter? Yes, indeed. Walter's program. Problem is that the mark of the beast is not of the seventh king. It's the eighth king. See Revelation 17:10-11. And there are 7 kings, 5 are fallen, and 1 is, and the other is not yet come. And when he cometh, he must continue a short space. And the beast that was and is not, even he is the 8th, and is of the 7, and goeth into perdition. The 8th is the 8th king. One can say that Sunday is the mark of the Papa Pointy Hat authority, but that is not the mark of the beast. It's the early transgression of desolation. Daniel 8:13. Then I heard one saint speaking, and another saint said unto that certain saint which spake, How long shall be the vision concerning the daily, and the transgression of desolation, to give both the sanctuary and the host to be trodden under foot? Fact is that the Sunday laws, instituted in the past, were not the 8th king's time frame, which arrives during the era of Zechariah 8:23. And Revelation 17:12-16, as well as Revelation 18. Yes, the 8th king's time frame involves 10 contemporaneous kings. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, in those days it shall come to pass that 10 men shall take hold out of all languages of the nations, even shall take hold of the skirt of him that is a Jew, saying, We will go with you, for we have heard that God is with you. And the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings, which have received no kingdom as yet, but receive power as kings 1 hour at the beast. These have one mind, and shall give their power and strength unto the beast. These shall make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them, for he is Lord of lords and King of kings. And they that are with him are called and chosen and faithful. And he saith unto me, The waters which thou sawest where the horse sitteth are peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues. And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh, and burn her with fire. And after these things, events of Revelation 17, I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was lightened with his glory. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the great is fallen, has become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird. For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. And I heard another voice from heaven, saying, Come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that ye receive not of her plagues. For her sins have reached unto heaven, and God hath remembered her iniquities. The fact is, God has told us all that the 8th king arrives after the fatal wound, and it's later, at the 1290 days, the abomination of desolation of Matthew 24:15 occurs, and not prior to that scenario. The 8th king is revealed as being the counterfeit Lord of the Sabbath, since the Talmud book states, on record, that Gentiles are not allowed to observe the Sabbath, only the 7 Noahides. The mark of the beast can only be instituted after the events of the contemporaneous 10 kings scenario of Revelation 13:1 and 2. They are crowned which was specifically stated at the 1290 days of Matthew 24:15, equals the abomination of desolation as spoken by Daniel the prophet, equals Daniel 12:11, which is by way of the activities of the miracle-working false prophet. And what would they be? Please see this link. Specifically, a 1-month period. Revelation 13 presents the 1260 days of the first beast and also introduces the second beast. But the question is this: did he who made confirm the duration of the second beast is 30 days, making the 1290 days of Daniel 12:11 completely true? By the authority of he who made, in Matthew 24:15, it is emphatically true. Does 1290 days exist in Revelation 13? Is this true? Yes. For what Jesus said in Matthew 24:15 in respect to the abomination of desolation is that he confirmed it was what prophet Daniel. And Daniel said the abomination of desolation equals last 1290 literal days. Daniel was fully informed about the transgression of desolation equals 1290 years up until 1844. See Daniel 8:13. Therefore, the second beast, 1 month, equals 30-day reign of unbridled power, is when the mark of the beast and the worship of the image is implemented, and that will surprise many. But hey, who wants to take this issue up with Daniel of Jesus Christ? The other thing is there actually exists a 30-day type precedent, and yeah, it's high time to think that one over. And where is it in the Bible, you ask? Daniel 6 prototype. All the presidents of the kingdom, the deputies, the satraps, the counselors, and the governors have consulted together to establish a royal statute and to make a strong interdict that whosoever shall ask a petition of any god or man for 30 days, save of thee, O king, he shall be cast into the lion's den. That specific decree shut out the duality of John 1:1, and in its place was the king as being a prototype of the 8th king of Revelation 17. The singularity of the Medo-Persian king was what was imposed. The outworking of that singularity was also seen in Daniel 3, when Daniel's 3 friends were cast into the fiery furnace, and that also involved a single huge image. In the upcoming days just ahead, the issue of singularity will come into play, and this time, by way of the deceptive work of the miracle-working false prophet, an image is to be animated. Since the miracle-working false prophet breathes life into the image of the beast and causes it to speak and to pass a death sentence on all who do not comply. The speaking will be conducted by demons who will possess these machines, and it will be claimed that the universal one consciousness equals the omega point of singularity, bringing the machines to life. The problem with the traditional understanding of Laodicea lays in the fact that Laodicea has not properly addressed the matter of the mark of the beast and its correct time frame, and how it, the 8th king, is going to be diverse from the other kings before it, since it's Luciferian and not Christian at all, but will entail the cultural aspects of the cursed fig tree of Isaiah 2, as well as what Jesus stated about learning the lesson from the fig tree in Luke 21:29-31, and what the branches turning green equals shooting forth implied, in relation to a house that was left desolate after he tried to cleanse it, Matthew 23:38. And in the last days, as is stated in Isaiah 2, it returns once again at the end of the age to challenge equals confront the first and third angel's message. The challenge to the first and third angel is the challenge against the why he who made is the Alpha and the Omega in eternal righteousness. While the true Sabbath is as close as you can get to the seal, it needs to be kept in mind that Benny David would observe the Sabbath and not Sunday. The Talmud prohibits Gentiles from worshiping on the Sabbath. This could also be an oppressive law which works in tandem with the 7 Noahides, number 1, which is the only law for Gentiles. Failure of compliance equals capital punishment. The missing component. Furthermore, the missing component in both the Sabbath and Sunday is the issue of singularity in the Godhead as opposed to duality of John 1:1. Keep in mind, Veith is an avowed Trinitarian and God, the eternal Son believer, Fundamentals 2 and 4, not recognizing both he and his audiences are ill-equipped to respond under the law of one that attacks the first angel's warning. Granted that in reality the Sabbath is linked with the first angel on the basis of John 1:1, but the false interpretation of the Shema in the right hand and forehand equals Deuteronomy 6:8 annuls John 1:1 as well as the Alpha and the Omega in relation to the most of the planet, which will be deceived. That is why the 1888 message did not progress when the so-called issue of the Mark of the Beast came up during the era of 1888 to 1892 in reference to the agitation of a national Sunday law and its association with the Mark of the Beast. That is why the most precious message had to include the correct teaching on the Godhead, which had to align with the proper understanding of the true Shema of John 1:1 and eternal righteousness, based on the true concept of an ever-existent Logos, and not an emanation from the heavens or universe such as God, eternal Son. And since the heavens are not pure in his sight, and are, in fact, in a state of decay based on the law of entropy, which exposes the law of one as deficient. Since the universe is subject to change and will be folded like a garment by those present in John 1:1 and Psalms 110:1-4 equals the law of two. This alone forms the basis for Deuteronomy 6:4 when carried on the right hand and forehead. Right hand. When one accepts the duality of John 1:1, two eternal gods, Father number one and Father number two, and places it on his right hand, he is accepting the fact that the Messiah of Psalms 110:1-4 sits at the right hand of God as God, in duality and not a singularity. Isaiah 2, the law of Isaiah 2 is a law which is applied by the eighth king, and that law is around today, and it is the 7 Noahides, and that brings that matter to the forefront of confrontation, not the Sabbath. For this law is in relation to the false interpretation of the Shema, which is in contradistinction to the true Shema. John 1:1 expands the Shema of Deuteronomy 6:4 by way of two presentations. Number one, the plurality of the word Elohim in the original Hebrew, and two, the use of the word Akkad as oneness and duality and not singularity. Both of the above are fulfilled in John 1:1, whereas the error in the Shema would make use of the word Yachid, that God is one singular, individual, and needs no partners. The answer to this deception is Genesis 1:26. Conclusion: Laodicea are not proficient with the book of Revelation, especially chapter 17. Here's the thing. The seventh king is to soon emerge, equals grand monarch, will bring every fiber to reinstate the Holy Roman Empire back into the strong man's control, and may even insist a Sunday theme of a day of rest, as noted in the encyclicals. But are you ready for the hard-faced reality, which is this? According to Scripture, it will never come to pass. And why? Revelation 17:10 and Daniel 11:45 explains why. And there are 7 kings, 5 are fallen, one is, and the other is not yet come. And when he cometh, he must continue a short space. And he shall plant the tabernacles of his palace between the seas, in the glorious holy mountain. Yet he shall come to his end, and none shall help him. Yes, the 1290 days of Matthew 24:15 occur after the events of Revelation 17 and Daniel 11:45. The abomination of desolation time frame commences after the 7th king suffers the deadly wound, as stated in Revelation 13. And why? While child trained in basic grammar can tell you the 1260 days of Revelation 13 commences after the deadly wound. You have read the deadly wound text many times. And I saw one of his heads, as it were, wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed, and all the world wondered after the beast. And they worshipped the dragon, which gave power unto the beast, and they worshipped the beast, saying, Who is like unto the beast, who is able to make war with him? And there was given unto him a mouth speaking great things, and blasphemies, and power was given unto him to continue 40 and 2 months. Now, will you give the words like the child in grammar class their own clear meaning? Answer: the continuance was of power, was after 42 months. And then ask yourself, was God wrong about the deadly wound in the 1260 days of the first beast? Therefore, the 30 days of the second beast plus the 1260 days of the first beast equals 1290 days of Matthew 24:15.